If Jesus was sitting right here next to me, as he sat in Palestine 2,000 years ago, what does he look like to you? I mean, what kind of image do people create of who Jesus is? You know what I think that a lot of people today believe their image of Jesus is this, 60s era hippie who's wearing sandals and has flowers in his hair and sits out in a field and sings Kumbaya all day long and has little fluffy bunnies running around him. And he only says lovey-dovey stuff. And you cannot read the Gospel of Mark and get that picture of Jesus. Last week we were here looking at Jesus, and he was in a boat with a bunch of seasoned fishermen. And there came a storm so furious upon the lake that these seasoned fishermen were extremely scared, to the point they cried out to Jesus, "Don't you care? We're going to drown." And this Jesus stands up. And he speaks to the wind, and he speaks to the waves, and it calms down. And they are terrified. It's the middle of the night, and all this is going on, and they are terrified. We've seen Jesus do amazing, great things, and today is going to be even more scary. Mark chapter 5, verse 1 through 20. I've preached this sermon 20, 30 times. But it's different every time. It's going to be different today too. But he begins in verse 1 about a guy I'm going to call, because he has no official name here, I call him Crazy Harry. Crazy Harry. Mark chapter 5, verse 1. After the disciples had asked, "Who is this? Even the wind and the waves obey him," they now are blown across the lake and went to the region of the Gerasenes. This is not a place that they intended to sail to. They're going to go to a pagan area in which there is a graveyard. And when Jesus gets out of the boat, a man with an evil spirit came from the tombs to meet him. This man lived in the tombs, and no one could bind him anymore, not even with a chain. For he had often been chained hand and foot, but he tore the chains apart. He broke the irons on his feet. No one was strong enough to subdue him. Night and day among the tombs and in the hills, he'd cry out and cut himself with stones. You get the picture? These disciples are already scared out of their mind. They land in an area they don't want to be. It's foggy. It's dark. You're on the pagan side of the lake. You're in a graveyard. And there's this crazy demon-possessed maniac, and he's going to come running down at the boat. Let's go on. When he saw Jesus from a distance, he ran and he fell at his knees in front of him. He shouted at the top of his voice. And by the way, here's where any of you who can do imitations, get your worst, most demonic voice out and say it at the loudest voice you can. "What do you want with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? Swear to God that you won't torture me." And by the way, there is no compliment here. This is someone who's coming out of force of evil, who's challenging the forces of good. For Jesus was saying to him, "Come out of this man, you evil spirit." Then Jesus asked him, "What is your name?" "My name is Legion," he replied, "for we are many," and a legion is many. The Roman definition of a legion is 6,000. This guy is, you talk about personality disorders. This guy's got 6,000 demons living within him. He begged Jesus again and again, "Don't send me from this area." A large herd of pigs was feeding on the nearby hillside. The demons begged, "Jesus, send us among the pigs. Allow us to go into them." He gave them permission, and the evil spirits came out and went into the pigs. The herd, about 2,000 in number, rushed down the steep bank into the lake, and they drowned. Oh, get into the scene. Put yourself in this situation and look at what's going on. Verse 14, those tending the pigs ran off and reported this in the town and countryside, and the people went out to see what had happened. When they came to Jesus, they saw the man who had been possessed by a legion of demons sitting there. Harry, formerly Crazy Harry, sitting there. He was dressed. He was in his right mind. And look at here again. The people were afraid. Those who had seen it told the people what had happened about the demon-possessed man and told them, of course, about the pigs as well. Then the people began to plead with Jesus to leave their region. They didn't understand the power. And they were afraid of it. As Jesus was getting into the boat, the man, Crazy Harry, formerly Crazy Harry, who had been demon-possessed, begged to go with him. Jesus did not let him go. But he said to him, "Go home to your family and tell them how much the Lord has done for you and how he has had mercy on you." So the man was obedient. He went back to the Decapolis and telling people how much Jesus had done for him. And here we go again, and all the people were amazed. Now please go back to my beginning there and think about this concept of this picture of Jesus, this 60s hippie in flowing garments and sandals and flowers in his hair, just speaking soothing tones. Not this righteous warrior in the middle of the night fighting the evils of hell. One who makes expectations of those who claim to be his disciples. Why were you so afraid? Have you no faith if you're in my boat? The calling that he has upon those who are truly following him. Go into the darkness in the regions where the enemy dwells, and we're here to do battle. Not to sit out in a field and to sing lovely lullaby tunes. He calls us to go. Jesus left the splendor of heaven to come to the stink-filled world of sin to do battle. Jesus was open to those who are in dark places. Jesus is with those who no one else can deal with. Think about this guy. Where did he come from? He probably came from that pagan area. It does. It says he was from that town in the Gospel of Luke. And it said that people gave their opportunity to try to help him. What did they try to do? Bind him with chains and irons, and they couldn't even do that. And they gave up on this man, and he's out there in the wilderness, out there in the tombs, lonely, helpless, hopeless, dark, being driven by demons, cutting himself, hurting himself, out of control. Who's going to help this poor soul? Townspeople? They've given up on him. They have no power over him. What a sad situation. But that's why Jesus came from heaven to here. He had a plan. He had a mission. Do you think it was just by accident that Jesus showed up over on this shore? That he just happened to hit there and said, well, golly, since we're here, we might as well do a little ministry. He was there on purpose. He was destined to be there. He had a divine appointment with a guy who was helpless and hopeless and out of control and didn't want to be there. But sin had taken over him. Folks, we have got here a man who is in desperate need. Do you see his need? So hopeless, so helpless, so dark. Do you see how these demons take over him and just make him do stuff he doesn't want to do? He's got no family. He's got no friends. He's all isolated. This is the culmination of sin in this guy's life. How did he get there? Don't know. Text doesn't tell us how he got there. One can conclude, or at least make an educational guess, that maybe there were some choices in Harry's life that he made that got him to this point, to where he is like the Ted Bundy of that time, where he followed his sin to its fullness. And here it is. Dark, miserable, filthy, depressing. I don't think there's anywhere in the scriptures where you can see a human being in more desperate need than you have this crazy, hairy guy. Can you imagine as we come up there, as we're disciples of Jesus, we're in that boat, it's foggy, it's misty, we just got scared to death out there at the sea, and we're pulling up with the boat, and here comes this lunatic running down straight at us, absolutely stark naked. He's got blood sore scars. He hasn't shaved. He hasn't bathed. He stinks, and he's got this demon screaming voice, and he's coming at us. And oh man, you think I was scared back then? Now I'm like, Jesus, we need to get out of here. This is an unclean place. He's got unclean spirits. Everything about it is defiled. What are we doing here?